The events of the past months have forced many of us to face the everyday reality of systemic racial injustice that has plagued this country since its inception. I've spent much of my life asking the big questions and looking for answers. What's the meaning of life? Why is creation the way it is? What is enlightenment? But over the past 2 years of intense seeking through spiritual practices, I've come to understand that experiential answers to these questions can only come when you're able to forfeit your survival instinct and allow yourself to expand beyond a limited identity. But to start in this direction, you must feel a certain level of comfort that you're not in any direct danger. Otherwise, the instinctual memory within the system is just too strong. It'll say, to hell with spiritual process, I'm fighting to survive. The ability to let your guard down and open yourself is innate. But at the same time, to have your environment feel safe enough that you actually do it, this is privilege. The reason so much spiritual wisdom has come from the East, especially India, is because these are places where civilizations lived in relative peace for thousands of years. What I've experienced over the past 2 years has changed my life. But this last month, I've been silent. Because how to talk spirituality to those who are fighting for their lives and their right to exist? When we say privilege, this is what we are talking about. That you can live your daily life without an oppressive systemic cloud creating fear within you. Fear means survival instinct, means a barrier to one's full potential. Let me give you a personal example. When I was 15, I was playing with a toy gun outside my driver's ed class. You know, the kind with an orange cap that shoots little plastic balls. 4 police officers suddenly ran up on me, and one of them pointed a gun to my head. Now you might say, Sam, how is this a story of white privilege? But as I've been reflecting, the white privilege in this story is that I'm alive today to tell the story. If my skin was dark, would I be here? Would I have been gunned down there and then? Just imagine living with that constantly in your consciousness. If you make a wrong move, it could mean your life. Or maybe just laying asleep in your bed. You didn't do anything, but somehow you got confused with someone else, or you happen to live in the wrong neighborhood, and that's it. The police bust in and kill you or your loved ones. With a system that's producing threats to you, your family, and your livelihood on a regular basis, how to let your guard down? To be able to ask the big questions, to be able to be comfortable enough in your environment that you can put your survival instinct down and expand. This is a privilege every human being has a right to.
Sam and I are an interracial couple, which for us has mostly meant that we get to joke about how much Sam loves Indian food, or how I can't eat spicy food at all, my excellent Valley Girl accent, or how well Sam can do the Indian head nod. But the truth is that this relationship would have been so difficult not that long ago. Just over 50 years ago, interracial relationships were illegal in the United States. In fact, in the 1920s, non-white immigrants weren't even allowed into the US. How on earth would I have had the chance to attend Harvard University or meet my dearest friends from Guyana, Italy, Mexico, Chile? It wasn't until after the Civil Rights Movement that in 1965, interracial marriage was finally legalized across all US states. Just a couple generations ago, Sam and I would have had to fear racist violence and fight in court for years to legalize our marriage. But instead, today we can go to music concerts and eat at restaurants because of the efforts of Black men and women and people of color in this country. And for those in India, take a look at the same way this racist thought process plays out in our own society. Why is Fair and Lovely a brand of face whitening cream? My mom, who's the most drop-dead, gorgeous, dusky woman I've ever seen, was shamed for being darker than my dad. Krishna literally means black in Sanskrit. Everything speaks of him as having dark skin. Yet, how many depictions have you seen of him which are basically porcelain white with a little bluish tint? We don't just need to fix police brutality, but the entire narrative about darkness being a negative thing. It is from darkness that everything in this existence springs. Kala means time, space, and darkness. It is one of the most profound and holy words in the Sanskrit language. And yet, we go around calling people Kalyas in a derogatory way. Darkness is the mother of all existence. It is from this dark space that the universe sprang into action. And it is in this dark space that every planet, star, and creature are held. And similarly, if you trace the human race back, the origins of every human being come from Africa.
So if every human being comes from Africa, then Adam and Eve were black. So when you see someone with dark skin, if you naturally feel mistrust or fear, we must change this. Instead of apprehension or prejudice, let us fold our hands and bow down to a living representation of the origin of humanity. So don't see the protester, the looter, the police officer, the white or the black person as a demon or angel. We must see them as human beings and understand the everyday behaviors and societal programming that have created these situations where people feel backed into a corner. Because humanity can only exist when we see each other as human beings. Consciousness can only raise when we see each other as part of ourselves.
Now you might be thinking, what does this collective awakening have to do with me? And what does it have to do with yoga?
Well, each of us has a part to play in society, whether we like it or not. And yoga helps us align the direction of a compass inward to know that the only way forward is through inclusion.
As we become more aware of the ways in which certain groups of people have been systemically oppressed and excluded from opportunities and basic rights, yoga reminds us of our own responsibility, and by that we mean our infinite ability to respond from a place of conscious compassion. We can start by swadhyaya, or self-examination, an important part of living a life of yoga.
A few questions we can ask ourselves as we take a deeper look within are, what conscious or unconscious privileges and biases do I have?
And what do I need to learn more about?
How do I turn what I'm learning into meaningful action?
These are questions that Sam and I have been asking ourselves, and the answer doesn't have to be easy or simple. In fact, it's likely going to be uncomfortable, messy, confusing, and maybe even scary. But the idea is to continue to unravel and know that it is okay to make mistakes as we learn.
We can also employ the tools and practices of yoga and meditation to stabilize our mind and body so we can continue to do the work together in a sustainable way.
In these past weeks, we have been unpacking our own privilege and biases, reading many books, asking questions, talking to different members of the community, and really listening to the voices of Black, Indigenous people of color as they share their experience and calls to action. And we've been offering our support and resources and energy in all the ways that we can.
And we'll continue to share our learning and understanding with all of you through this platform. And we hope that you share with us what you're unpacking too.
There is much work to be done, but we feel hopeful that we can make the shift happen if we do it together.